بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Abdul Qadir al-Jailani. Is this the echo mic or no?
No, regular.
Abdul Qadir al-Jailani was asked, "Oh, yazni al-wali? Can a wali commit a major wrong?" Right? And he said, وَكَانَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ قَدْرًا مَقْدُورًا.
Check your phone.
وَكَانَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ قَدْرًا مَقْدُورًا. A matter of Allah Azza wa Jal. Oh, by the way, announcement. When you click, there's a playlist for all the previous classes. So when you click on number 2 or whatever, it should take you to the playlist, the whole playlist. But if not, then we'll just send the email out for each link. So far, everything that we've done is updated in a YouTube video. Okay? But it's unlisted, so you need to have the link because it's not public, it's just for the class. It's unlisted. So if it doesn't come up the whole playlist, then we will send you again the email. Also, Ulum al-Quran, which we did, is also up there for everyone. Okay? So everyone to watch and benefit from. Okay. So Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, alayhi rahmatullah, he was asked, "Awayazni al-wali? Can a wali commit a big wrong?" He says, وَكَانَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ قَدْرًا مَقْدُورًا. The matter, if Allah Azza wa Jal has committed, willed something, it's going to happen. Now, how do we know, how do we consider a sin that we do? Is it maqdur, from the qadr of Allah upon us, or is it our own action? Okay? You look at it by your reaction. Okay? Examine it by your reaction. If your reaction is to blame yourself, be angry, be upset at yourself, and then make an immediate tawbah, and it's a big deal to you, and you're extremely upset by it, okay? And you never want to do this again, and this is the biggest deal of your life that you did this. How could you do this? Okay? And that you would never think to say, Allah has willed this for me. That is the sign that Allah will view it as the opposite. He will view it as a test that I have put upon you. But if a person says, no, this is Allah's will for us, Allah has willed this for me, there's nothing I could do, and let me just enjoy it. Or you have no speed to tawbah, no speed to repentance, then at this point, you will not have that outlet on Yawm al-Qiyamah. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, we will be held accountable. So, the ulama tell us that if you are penitent for your sin, then the forgiveness is that Allah informs you, "Oh my servant, I have made a destined this for you, for a wisdom, for lessons that you will learn from the sins, for benefits that will come to you, not from the action but from the humility, okay? Or for protection, for your own protection, so your ego doesn't rise up too much." Okay? You want the mic closer? So that your ego doesn't rise too much, for your own protection. But if someone doesn't have this type of approach, this type of attitude, and he has a very nonchalant attitude, and he enjoys it, and he takes pleasure in it, then he's told on Yawm al-Qiyamah, you did this, you didn't have to do it, and you did it. Okay. So, this is how we have to handle our ma'asi. And the one who knows how to handle ma'asi, his downfalls, is the likeness of, what do they call these special effects actors? Stuntmen. The stuntman is like thrown off of a building, for real, maybe 1 or 2 stories, but he knows how to fall. Every time he's thrown off, he falls properly. He maybe just gets a scrape, okay? He falls properly. And it is said that the repeating sinner, someone who's always sinning, if he is a repeating penitent, tawwab, he's not written in the books as a sinner. Okay? He's not written in the books as a sinner. And rather, the one who's written in the sight of Allah as a asi, a disobedient, and someone who plans and enjoys and doesn't make time. This is why one of the hikam that we're going to read here is that sometimes a mistake that you make, right? A mistake that you make ends up actually being better for you than if you had done an act of obedience. But you have to not misunderstand this. It doesn't mean that the act is better. It means the result may be better. The result may be better. Okay? And Allah Azza wa Jalla, and we cannot, just as you cannot punish someone, you cannot steal from them, hurt them, harm them. Right? One of the names, the name Ar-Rahman means He has mercy for people by hurting them. Okay? And sometimes hurting someone actually is the most beneficial thing to them. But only Allah Azza wa Jalla does this. We can't do this. Likewise, you can't say, I need some humility, so let me just sin a little bit. You can't do that. But Allah Azza wa Jalla may make it qadr upon you. Right? We have to strive to go against these sins, and we have to strive to attain humility properly, in the right way. But Allah Azza wa Jalla may use any means and method that He wants. Right? And many times you hear in the dua, بِمَا شِئْتَ وَكَيْفَ شِئْتَ. The dua, بِمَا شِئْتَ وَكَيْفَ شِئْتَ. However you want, in whatever way you want. Allah Azza wa Jalla works in very mysterious ways. Okay? Very mysterious ways to render us humble and to bring us back to Him. Now, we stopped at 102, I believe. This is beautiful. جَلَّ رَبُّنَا أَنْ يُعَامِلَهُ الْعَبْدُ نَقْدًا فَيُجَازِيَهُ نَسِيئَةً. Allah Azza wa Jalla is far greater than we interact with Him in cash and He pays us back in credit. No, this never happens. All right? Anything that you do for Allah Azza wa Jalla, you will receive an immediate reward. And the most immediate reward is the feeling of sakina upon making your tawbah and doing your dhikr. An immediate reward is the conscience, the clear conscience. This is your immediate reward. Okay? And on top of that, you have worldly rewards, removal of sins, and other worldly rewards. So no, it will never be that you will give Allah Azza wa Jalla a good deed. You'll do a good deed to Allah, all right, for Allah's sake, and you won't see the reward of it. No. The bare minimum of the reward is peace of mind, a sound conscience. This is why one of the people who used to command the rain from did the wrong, he was asked, he said, what is your biggest motivation? Right? He says, I love to sleep. Right? And this is like not right? You're not supposed to love to sleep. He says, no, I love to sleep. And so I have to do the right thing because I need to sleep with a clear conscience. Okay? I can't have anything bothering my conscience. I need to sleep with a clear conscience. And he was a big commander of the right and forbidder of the wrong. Right? Now, the opposite is true too. The opposite is true. If we do a wrong, if we see it immediately in some worldly way, we should be thankful. But if it's delayed, we should be worried. So, if someone commits a wrong, and he ends up in a state of misery afterwards, for whatever reason, he should be happy. He should know that the wali, Allah Azza wa Jalla, likes to remove his sin immediately. And the fasiq, Allah Azza wa Jalla leaves him. So you see some people, they do one minor wrong, and yet they can't sleep. They're upset. They're miserable. All right? They're doing extra rak'ahs to try to wipe it away. They're so upset. Right? This is a great sign. But you see some other people doing huge calamities, and it doesn't even cross their mind. They're not upset. They don't feel miserable. They don't feel any guilt. They feel nothing. This is a big istidraj, which means you do wrong, and you keep having a good life. Okay? You do wrong, and you still have a clear conscience. This is what the ulama call istidraj, which means this is the biggest punishment. That Allah doesn't let you feel guilt, doesn't let you feel bad, doesn't let you see any bad consequence of your actions. Okay? Okay, this should be very worrisome to a person. Okay, very worrisome. Okay, this is even the awliya, they have their finger on things, right? So much so that some of the awliya, they get worried if there's no tribulation. Like a headache is a test. Sickness, an annual sickness, cleans out your sins. Okay? A monthly headache or a bi-monthly headache. Some people have other things. Some people have every day a reminder from a disease that they had. You have sickness and you have diseases. Disease stays with you, right? Some people are reminded every day that's what they need. Right? Some people have a family member causing them grief. Okay? And most people in their lives, once or twice in their lives, they'll have a period of 6-7 years of misery caused by someone in their family. Such as example, in your youth, you can't stand your mom. Or your dad, you and your dad just don't get see eye to eye. Okay? Then later in life, your son. One of your sons gives you a headache. Gives you grief. 5-6 years. This is very important, right? 5, 6, 7 years. It's going to end. But it seems like it's not going to end because it's 5, 6, 7 years. And this strengthens your character. Makes you think outside the box. Okay? Changes your pattern of thinking, improves it, returns you to Allah, reminds you that you don't want to be in this world anymore. Right? Some people, you have such a good life. You may be doing a disservice, right? Such a good life, you're given a disservice. Sometimes you need a wrinkle. You always need haraj. Some wrinkle, there's got to be a wrinkle. You can't put the wrinkle there yourself, but there's got to be a wrinkle. Okay? Now, one way you can do it, get that little bit of a wrinkle, you never want a picture-perfect life. Trust me, you never want that. Because if the instant you have it, you will start losing everything at that point. There needs to be some haraj. Like what? So if I have a picture-perfect life, okay, what do I do if someone imagines that, let's say, there's nothing wrong. You need to strive in ibadat, and you need to strive in khidmah, acts of worship and service. And in so doing, you will come upon challenges that will give you that character-developing and sin-removing hardships, such as fasting. If you have a great life, take on the burden of fasting. You're going to feel tired, you're going to be upset, you're going to have a little bit of a headache, right? And you've sort of brought this on yourself, but not really. You've done what Allah asks you to do, right? You've done it. Or look at people. People need help. People need help. Go and help people. And in the process, you will be exhausted, right? You'll be exhausted from people, okay? So, khidmah, ibadah and khidmah, to neutralize too much good, because we know, as we want, don't we all want to neutralize the pain of torment, right? We talk about dua and dhikr and remembrance of death. Why? To neutralize a very painful life. Likewise, a very pleasuresome life needs to be neutralized. Okay? And so you always are neither like so miserable that you're suicidal, and neither is everything so perfect that you forget about death. Okay? You never want to be in either of those extremes. MashaAllah, someone has some good oud over here. Smell it. كَفَى مِنْ جَزَائِهِ إِيَّاكَ عَلَى الطَّاعَةِ أَنْ رَضِيَكَ لَهَا أَهْلًا. Again, we said last week, the mu'min, at a basic level, views things from a very simple way, a very simple, two-dimensional level. The wali of Allah Azza wa Jal has depth, more depth. We said that if Allah Azza wa Jal gives you a ni'mah in life, like a good job, a good wife, a good husband, good kids, a raise, a new car, a new house, the common man, he says, Alhamdulillah, let me pray 2 rakats shukr. But the wali says, wait, this is a trick? Am I entering into a trap? He says, is this new house going to distract me? Is Allah, and he may get sad. He might say to himself, is Allah, he doesn't want my dua anymore? Is he quieting me, shutting me up? Because if you're down, you make dua. Your health is down, you're making dua and you're sending dua up, and Allah loves this. Now you got your health back. The wali, he starts thinking, Allah Azza wa Jal, he doesn't want my dua anymore, right? And this is the bizarre thing. The awliya, their envy, who they envy in life, which they don't ask for it, but they envy the one who is tested in life. And don't think that test is in one way. Test is in so many ways. Someone could have perfect kids, no money. Someone could have perfect job, no kids, right? And you tend to find this. And Allah, the awliya, they feel at peace when a trial comes their way because they know Allah's paying attention to them now, right? Before, they get nervous. So much so that one of the salaf of the women, awliya of the women, she took her husband for a khula, a divorce, okay? And on the way there, okay, the qadi, the judge, asked her, why are you seeking this divorce? She said, he's not a man of Allah. He said, and what's the dalil? You see him drinking, committing zina, skipping prayer, fasting. He said, no, he does all this. So he's just a general believer, but he's never been tested, right? There's no test in his life, okay? He's never been tested. And tests is not always public. Many tests are private. Many sins that you do are private. That's a test, right? You should just hope that Allah Azza wa Jal may cover up all of our sins. So just you think someone doesn't have any tests in his life, he may have tests. It may be so private, even his own mother doesn't know about it. It's a private situation, right? So she took him to court, and she said, he never gets tested, okay? So I don't want a husband that is not a man of Allah. So then he granted the divorce because in khula, in fiqh, you don't always need a reason. If you have no reason, but you just don't want to marry the person, you have to give back the money, right? And then he divorces you, or the judge divorces you. You give back the mahar, right? The mahar, the sadaq, okay? On the way back, the man tripped and broke his ankle in a really bad way, right? So then she took him back and agreed to marry him again, because now he's tested, okay? So you see now how the awliya view things. Now let's look at what Ibn Allah is saying. How do we view our act of obedience and our ta'ah? How do we view our ta'ah? Okay? Most people view the ta'ah and they think they did good. They did great. They sleep feeling, I did a good job today. Hopefully I'm going to get a reward. This is sound, this is fine, perfect and good. But the wali is deeper. What does he say? He says, wait a second, I didn't do this for myself. Who gave me the idea to do it? Who put inside my heart the love of this action? And then who facilitated all this action? So he realizes this is Allah. So he says, Allah chose me for this job. Chose me for this act. All right? And his satisfaction is not that he did it, but that Allah chose him for it. And one of the Sahaba said, the biggest calamity you should consider in your life is that you were doing an act and you stopped doing it. Don't say, you stopped doing it. Say, Allah fired you from it. Oh, that's scary at this point. Right? At this point, that hurts. To think that Allah had you amongst the people who used to give sadaqah to the poor. And you stopped. Don't say, I stopped. Say, think, has Allah fired me from that job? Right? Has Allah removed me? He doesn't want my money anymore? He doesn't want my sadaqah? That is how the wali thinks. So when you are doing it, you realize my service is an honor to me. This service, I'm being honored by this service. And you have to protect it. You have to guard it very safely. Because if you don't guard your good deeds, you can lose it. And if you lose it, and you see many times, it's very unfortunate, very sad, that you see someone is a hero in Islam. Then what happens? Like Rocky. He gained some fortune, or whatever, and he stopped doing service and he opened up a business instead. He used his skills that he learned in dawah or whatever charity. He learned services, he made friends, he made money, right? He then took all that, circled it, and started using it to open his own business. And now he doesn't do dawah anymore. That person, we should pray janazah on him. You should pray janazah on him, right? He took some minor incidental rewards of his dawah, which actually turned out to be a test, and he failed it. Because he stopped doing the dawah, he took the money that he gained, the popularity, the know-how, and he converted it into a business. SubhanAllah. This is someone who's failed miserably. Failed miserably. SubhanAllah. This is the likeness of someone who works extra hours in the company, so much so that he sees the janitors, and he gets to know the janitors, and he gets to know the routine of the janitor. Then he left his position as vice president and became a janitor. This is the likeness of it. That's the likeness of it. And the only way that we handle that is we say, let Allah fire me from his work. And this is why many of the ulama and the awliya and the dua and the true scholars of Islam were very suspicious of having many gains and financial gains as a result of their da'wah. Right? Because they don't want to be lured and tempted to trade and start now you're a sheikh. Okay. Now you're on TV. You're on TV is giving you something, right? A couple $1,000s an episode. Okay? And they're making millions, so they're giving you some crumbs, right? It's a couple $1,000s per episode. Now what does that sheikh do? I got all this money. Now starts having his sons go invest this, go invest that. And what has this family become? It began as a scholarly family, it ends as a business. Family business. And I've seen it, and we've seen it, we all know it, and anyone in the Arab countries knows it. Some sheikhs, such a great sheikh, okay? But we don't know, this is qadr of Allah, maybe he didn't see through it. He became so wealthy, not because he loves money. He loves deen, you could tell he loves the deen. But he's on so many TV shows, he became so rich. Now when he became rich, what does he do? He brings his family, brings his nephew, brings his cousins, brings his brother, brings his sons and daughters, opens up a fund, opens up a company, and starts investing the money in the properties. And now, the son, how does he spend half of his day? Being like his dad and learning? No. He spends all his time investing. He's a businessman now. You end up a businessman. And this is a downgrade. This is a downgrade. This is why the wisdom, the great wisdom of what happened to Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein. What happened to them? Did they become rich? Off their father's name? Right? Did they become governors and have power? We see that they ended up in a downward worldly situation, which actually caused them to maintain the spiritual integrity of their father. So, at the end of his life, Ali is in a state of misery. The Khilafah is giving him a headache. So much so that he saw the Prophet in a dream. He said, Ali, why are you upset? He said, your ummah has caused me a headache. Your ummah has caused me grief. He said, pray that Allah gives you something better than them and gives them someone worse than you. So he made dua on them. Okay? And they got what they got. Right? So Ali bin Abi Talib ended his life not a rich man with no problems. This is not the goal of religion. Remember, we want Allah Azza wa Jal. We want Allah Azza wa Jal. Look at the end of Ali. He ended his life that one of his companions used to see him weeping in a mosque in Kufa at night. That the grief would wake him up and cause him to leave his house, pray and weep out of grief in a mosque in Kufa, in a little hut mosque. That's how the great people, that's how he ended his life. Allah Azza wa Jal did not give us the deen so we can just use it for comfort and power and all these other things. Allah Azza wa Jal wants our hearts to be clean and pure. So look at Bukhari. Did we talk ever about the death of Bukhari? Oh, the death of Imam al-Bukhari. Imam al-Bukhari. By 17 years old, he's celebrated. By 15, he was done with Khurasan. The great scholars of Khurasan deemed him finished. finished. Like, we can't benefit you anymore. You've graduated from all of Khorasan, Samarkand, Nishabur, Bukhara. Finished. Now what? Go on to Hijaz. It's like going from the minor league to the major league. Going from high school, skip college, go to the MBA right away. He went at the age of 15. By 16, 17, he's writing a book. Right? And this is actually beautiful. He used to go to the Prophet's mosque at night when it was a full moon and use the light of the moon, because he didn't have enough money to buy oil, use the light of the moon to write all of his knowledge. And he was writing a book on the history of the hadith networks, the transmission networks. And he took from him, he took from him, he took from him, who is so-and-so, who's so-and-so, who did they meet, who did they not meet. He wrote all that as a child, 15, 16, 17. We think we're sophisticated. We're actually not sophisticated. We're drowned out by too much stuff. There's physics, there's geography, there's math, there's too much stuff for kids, for people now. That's why in the past, they had less at their fingertips, but they produced more. Because they had more free time, right? On a Saturday today, can you even find a free minute? Wallahi, we have no free time. There's too much going on. For them, they didn't. He wrote the history of the hadith networks up to his era, which is until today used as a reference. Used as Sheikh Rajab Shamturk. Some people saw him recently. What was his PhD thesis on in Colombia? The history of hadith networks. Because hadith transmission, it's called Hadith Transmission Network. It's like a web, like when AT&T or mobile or whatever mobile phone company, when they give you their commercial and they show you all of their towers and it's a big web. Hadith is just like this. Bukhari, by age 20, his name had reached Iraq. By age 25 or 27, they were waiting for him in Iraq. The 100 scholars of hadith were waiting for Imam al-Bukhari in Iraq. Okay? When he arrived right at the masjid was packed. Okay? And they gave him a public testing of his hadith. So what did they do? They took 100 hadiths and mixed up all the chains. Take a chain from here, from the first hadith, put it in the 27th hadith. Go there, mix up the chain. Mix up all the names. Right? Totally messed up all the chains. Then they recited to him each hadith. Okay? They recited 100 hadiths, waiting. Now, by the way, back in the day, the memories of people were phenomenal in the same way that technology today is phenomenal, right? I mean, can you even explain what's going on? You got a recording camera. What is even going on? You don't even know, right? We don't know. So, it's phenomenal. Back in the day, the technology was actually the human brain. So they recited to him all 100 tricked hadith, filled with traps and errors. Then they said, now recite them back. And correct any mistakes that you found. Okay? And he recited them back perfectly. He fixed all the mistakes. So this chain actually belongs here, and this name is flipped. Right? This chain belongs here, and this name is flipped. Okay? For us, a hadith means the text. For the muhaddithin, that's too easy. The hadith is the chain. Right? And the text is known. Okay? Bukhari is a celebrity. How did he die? Just to show you how Allah chooses the people He loves. Okay? And give them a special death. He retired and to move back to his homeland. When he arrived back to his homeland, he was invited by the people, and one of his old sheikhs, okay? And one of his old sheikhs, which is actually said that as a curse to this man, people forget his name. And it's actually true. Every time I told the story, I forget the sheikh's name. It might be like reverse psychology, right? Reverse psychology, but it's actually said it's like a curse that on this sheikh, because of what he's about to do to Bukhari, that his name gets forgotten, right? Now what he did is, he invited Bukhari, and lo and behold, the circle of Bukhari becomes bigger than his circle, right? the circle of Bukhari becomes bigger than his. So the sheikh starts getting jealous and upset. And he creates a big fitna for Imam al-Bukhari. So what was the fitna? We say that the Quran is the direct word of Allah. It is not created. But we do say our recitation of it is created, is a creation. Well, this sheikh says, they asked Bukhari, is the recitation of Quran created? He said yes, because Allah says He creates you and what you do, right? And therefore, our action is a creation. So this sheikh was a bit extreme in the position, and he said, no, even our recitation of the Quran is an exception to this verse, and it's uncreated. So he gathered the people, and they say Bukhari is a Mu'tazilite, and he says wrong beliefs, and they ended up mobbing around him and kicking him out. He ended up with like 1 or 2 people in his circle, that's it, and eventually a mob forced him out. So he's forced out of his own home city. He goes to the next city, Nishapur. It's a triangle, just like North Carolina has the triangle, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, and whatever the other one is. Okay, Greensboro, academic triangle, right? Well, Bukhara has a triangle too. Bukhara, Nishapur, and Samarkand. Now, he goes down to Nishapur. When he gets to Nishapur, the Emir tells him, open up a school, I'll pay for it. He pays for the school, you're the teacher, you're the sheikh of the school. So he's opening shortly in, right? He sends him a letter. He says, come and educate my kids. Come and educate my kids. And Bukhari says they can come to the majlis. They can come to the class. Right? They can come to the class. And he wrote to him, Al-ilmu yu'ta wa la ya'ti. Knowledge, you come to knowledge. Knowledge doesn't come to you. And there's great wisdom in this. You're not going to benefit something from someone coming to you as much as you took the effort to go to him. Just like in the past, there used to be a book written by a person, right? You borrowed the book and you wrote your own book. There wasn't that many books to go, you could just buy a book, right? In prison, I met a man who came out of prison, and he had a lot of knowledge. A lot of knowledge, right? And I said, mashallah, you learned a lot. Well, how did you learn? He said, I went to some random prison in some, like Indiana, where they didn't have a Muslim community. And there, they did not have a library, an Islamic library, so there was one copy of a hadith book that we Muslim prisoners had to pass it around, right? So you got to look at it. So he said, what I would do is, I would look at a hadith, right? And I would find the hadith that I'm going to study, and I would write it on my forearm, and then I had to memorize it by the time I next chance to get the book. So he would it's easy to memorize. I'm just looking at it on my forearm, and making wudu, it's erasing. Every day it's erasing a little bit more and more, and it takes about 4 or 5 days to erase it, so I had to have it memorized by then. SubhanAllah. So when you decrease people's means, they actually end up producing more. It's really an irony. It's an irony. Just like human beings, do we consider ourselves strong? I mean, we go to the moon, we take pictures of space, we know about black holes, we can communicate to China in a split second. We're strong. But what has all this technology done to our actual physical selves? It's actually hurt our physical selves. Physically, we're very weak. Right? Physically, we're more weak today than before. I mean, just look at the world of sports. You used to have people in boxing and wrestling ramming people into like pit poles, and the person would be dizzy for a second and he'd be back up on his feet. Right? Today, it's a touch, and he's out with a concussion. A touch, right? Today, think about this. The helmet of football today, stronger today or in the 50s? Today, right? Well, if you look at the history, the actual facts tell us that the brain situation is getting worse. It's not that they were not documenting. They were documenting, right? They were documenting boxers and football players were documented that their injuries were less then than now. So overall, the human being is getting weaker, right? Even though technology is getting stronger. Now, Bukhari then insisted that this sheikh, that he's not going to the Amir's house. He's not going to teach the governor in his house. The governor's kids have to come here. governor became enraged at this act of disrespect, which he perceived as disrespect. He shut down the school and kicked him out. So Bukhara got kicked out of the second city. And at this time, he had one companion left, that is Imam Muslim. Muslim was his only companion left. Imam Muslim was about a decade or so younger than him, so he was in the middle level between being his student and his friend. And that's why it's until Yawm al-Qiyamah, their names are attached. Bukhari and Muslim, Bukhari and Muslim, Bukhari and Muslim. Because they were actually best friends, right? A student-friend relationship. Until Bukhari said to Muslim, you have to leave now. The situation got so bad, leave. So he made him leave. Bukhari then traveled to Samarkand, the third city, got sick on the way. And in a city called Khartank, got sick, and the people there, the villagers, they didn't really read or write, they didn't know who he was. Until he died. When he died, right, then they started looking at his stuff, right? They started looking at his material. And someone said, well, he has a lot of Bukhari's works here. Then they realized he is Bukhari himself, right? He is Bukhari himself. So they sent word to the three cities, and this is the irony of it. He was kicked out of all three cities, but his janazah, all three cities, everyone had to come to him to make salah upon him, right? Everyone had to leave their homes and travel to make salah janazah upon him, and he's still buried there until today. Okay? And it's in the Republic of Uzbekistan, a city called Khartank. Okay? So Allah Azza wa Jal, He loves for us to focus on the spirit of the religion, not the outside of the religion. There's Islamic work, there's Islamic politics, there's a lot of Islamic stuff. None of it is the essence of the religion. Essence of the religion is your relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal. And that's why the great awliya, okay, Allah treats them with this special treatment. Okay, and don't think, oh, he died a miserable death. I want to die a pristine death, having been rich and famous. No. It's not like that. كفى العاملين جزاء ما هو فاتحه على قلوبهم في طاعته وما هو مورده عليهم من وجود مؤانسته. This is it. Uns. I want you to write on the side of the tab. Uns. Wallahi al-Azim. If all our Islamic work succeeds, but we don't gain, or worse, we lose in uns, then we have lost everything. Then other people may have benefited and we have lost. It suffices as a reward of the doer of good that he has inspired obedience to him in their hearts and brought upon them the existence of his reciprocal intimacy. And unsu billah. The gift of worldly wealth, worldly success, worldly fame, perfect children, this is not the gift of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is not Allah's gift. And it could be Allah's gift only if the real gift accompanies it. Okay? Question. I'm striving for Allah, and now my dunya is really good. People like me. I have my spouse is doing great, my kids are doing great. How do I know? Is this a test or a gift? The answer is this. If you have uns billah, if you have feelings of intimate nearness to Allah Azza wa Jal, then all of that is an extra gift. All of that is extra icing on top of the cake. But if you do not have the feeling of uns, then all of that is Allah shutting you up. Just as, how do I know if a dad, his kid asks him, can I have a treat? And he gives it to him right away. Right? If the dad is busy, I don't have time to raise kids and tell them it's bad for you. I don't have time to teach lessons of patience. Take it and go, because I'm busy. Is this love? That's not a gift of love, right? That's not the gift of love. That's just shutting you up because I'm busy. Allah Azza wa Jal also shuts people up. Okay? Shuts people up. By giving them a lot. How do I know? Is Allah shutting me up? Or is He rewarding me? The answer is, did this material thing come accompanied with uns or without uns? If it came accompanied with feelings that I am feeling close to Allah, I am avoiding more things than I really was before, I'm doing more than I was before, and I feel at any given moment I want to make dua. At any given moment I want to pick up my little mushaf, okay? I want to pick up my little Quran and pick it up right away and read. That's what I want to do. Okay? All of that is an icing on top. And your enjoyment is worship at that point. Because as a parent gives a child a gift, it gives the parent happiness. To see him enjoying it, right? So likewise it gives Allah happiness to see you enjoying it. If the uns between you and Him is there. And what we have to focus on, my brothers and sisters, is uns billah. And what we have to look for is, where am I finding that uns? I need to be where I find that uns. Sometimes it is a certain masjid that you go to, that you feel sukoon, and you feel near to Allah. Then go for it. Okay? Sometimes it's a certain reciter that I listen to. Then go for it. That's an opening. Sometimes it is a certain book that I read. Go for it. This is what you have to do. Okay? This is what you have to do. And sometimes that's taken away because you may move or something. You need to look for another thing. Okay? And sometimes a certain thing is giving me uns, but it's no longer giving me uns. What do? Look for another thing. This is the meaning of Allah's statement. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْهُ. No, not that one either. Which one is it? Which one is it? Not that one. From al-Qisar. فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. فإذا فرغت فانصب. It means, this ayah means, if you feel that you have squeezed something, a shaykh, a book, something, you've squeezed it all, and now it's not giving you the same uns anymore. Find something else, right? Find something else, right? Sometimes listening to a surah or studying a surah, okay, gives you so much happiness. Then there comes a point that happiness is not coming anymore. So what do? You find something else. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He has one of the hikam here. لَمَّا عَرِفَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمَلَلِ لَوَّنَ الْعِبَادَاتِ. We're going to come to this one, hikmah. He says, when Allah saw human beings get bored, boredom is a great hikmah being put inside of human beings. When He knew that people get bored, He made the acts of worship all different. They're all different. The acts of worship are all different. Okay? So you may find yourself one season, you just discover something new, and you squeeze it until it becomes normal to you now. Now you need to find something else. Keep a little bit of that for the sake of consistency. Alright? Because you're going to get a psychological mess up if you keep jumping around. No, keep some of it for consistency, then move to something else. Okay. Yes?
If somebody is trying to memorize a surah and gets stuck, so should they leave that and move on to another one?
Sometimes the door closes, so you shift and go back to it. Just like, and this happens in all things. I mean, all of us, we took math, right, in school. So many times, a math problem is just locked. You're not getting anywhere. What do? You walk away, you forget about it, you go back, it's opened up right away. It's the same thing. When we work, we should look for the open door. If Allah's closed the door, leave it. Come back to it later, try again, until it opens. Okay? Being persistent does not mean denying the reality in front of you. If a door is locked, leave it. And I have to tell this all the time to the brothers when they're getting engaged. Okay? I'm telling you, oh, brother, my mother's disapproving, or her mother's disapproving. Leave it, right? Don't fight. Marriage has to enter in easily, right? With happiness, not with someone being miserable. It's going to come back to haunt you. No one can be miserable from the important people, okay? If one person is miserable because of a marriage, guarantee 110% you can bet your house on it, it's not going to end up good. If the mom or dad on either side. Unless it's an extreme case like your dad, he is like a white supremacist, and he isn't happy that you're Muslim in the first place. That's different, right? But we're talking a common case, Muslim mom and dad, okay? Common situation. If any, or you stole the girl from another man. Well, you know this is haram. Or you stole the husband from another woman. You know that's haram. Okay? The marriage may technically be halal, but you broke someone's heart in the process. I guarantee you that broken heart, all that pain is going to come up, is going to find itself on your head someday. Guaranteed. So everyone should be happy, right? Everyone's got to be happy. So
it won't be disrespect, discontinuing that ibadah and
it's not going to be disrespect so long as you have the intention to go back to it. من عبده لشيء يرجوه منه أو ليدفع بطاعته ورود العقوبة عنه فما قام بحق أوصافه. Very critical lesson that Sheikh Rajab Shanturk talked about recently. And there's many in history, people have talked about it, but he summarized it in a way that is excellent. Whoever worships him for some hope, or in order to save off a chastisement, has not concerned himself with the real nature of worship. And for ourselves, for the youth, okay, the essence of Tawheed is you should feel that you know Allah Azza wa Jalla. You've studied Allah's attributes, you've studied, you've read. You should feel in your heart, you know Allah Azza wa Jalla. Okay? Once you have reached this, the chain is there. Now, we don't worry about you anymore. Really. Such a person, anything that happened will be incidental. What we worry about is the one who all he knows is fear and hope. We worry about him. Because as soon as fear is gone, he should stop. He can stop. As soon as hope is gone, or desire is achieved, because he's going to stop. But if he knows Allah directly, one-to-one, and he feels, I know this is my Lord, I know it, right? And he knows me, okay? That person, you should never fear for him ever again. You don't have to fear for him. Anything that will happen to him will be the outside only, right? There was a sheikh one time that one of the students was not doing anything, right? One of the murids in London, he got the job, got the family. He wasn't even doing the awrad. What is the awrad? Is like the ratib. The ratib, everyone should be doing that every night, okay? Every night we should do the ratib. Or some similar wird. He wasn't even doing the awrad. He was doing nothing. Right? So the sheikh noticed the people are looking down on him. He said, him, right? He may do it, may not do it, right? It's good to do it, obviously. He's tied. He's connected. Right? He's connected. So he can go far off, right? When Allah wants to, yank him in. Why? Because he has a direct connection with Allah Azza wa Jalla. You know he has a connection. Right? Now, no one should rely upon that. We should act as if we have nothing. That's how we have to act. You gotta act how you used to act when you first started to learn about the deen. When we first started to learn about the deen, we acted like very nervous, very scared, make sure I want to do everything right. Don't lose that, right? Even though you move on, don't lose that. You still gotta be very vigilant, make sure everything's right, take everything seriously, look up to people. Okay? So ends at security. The emotion, the motivation of fear dies at security. Once you are secure, you're not fearful anymore. This is why I believe, personally, there's a hikmah in a lot of anti-Islamic stuff going on. It's a great hikmah. If you're comfortable, what goes on? Tell me, some people here are aware of the Islamic environment before 9/11, right? And after. Before 9/11, it was dead. There was very little activity, if you think about it, in comparison to now. Now there's so much activity, right? And what happened? In 2 years, did the population change? You noticed before 9/11, you didn't really see any Muslims around. After 9/11, there's Muslims everywhere, right? What happened to the population? It's not going to jump in 2 years, right? In 1 year. Allah Azza wa Jalla has a hikmah. Look at Bani Israel. Bani Israel, when their population started to grow so big and they're just going to dissolve in the community, what did he do? He inspired Fir'aun to have them on his target. And he started attacking them and hurting them, right? And what did they start doing? Awaiting the Messiah. Awaiting their deliverer, who was Moses. Maybe they didn't call him Messiah. But, so fear dies, the motivation of fear dies as soon as you are secure. The motivation of desire dies as soon as you acquire. Right? Desire dies upon acquisition. So, you're working really hard. Subliminally, you actually don't realize you are working for a motive. To get out of a bad situation, right? Or to get a good situation. As soon as you get it, everything drops. Because that motivation is dead now. But the motivation of love never dies. The motivation of love never dies. Okay? Motivation of love never dies. This is why what he's saying here, if you worshipped Allah for fear or desire, you have worshipped Him, it's accepted. But you have not recognized Him. You are still thinking about some other creation. You're using Him for creation. Security is a creation. A good life is a creation. So you use the Creator for the creation. How does that make any sense? That's not a good deal. You use the Creator for the creation. What he's saying here is use the Creator for the Creator. Approach the Creator, not for the creation. Approach Him for the Creator. For Himself. And again, this goes back to al-unsu billah. The heart and soul of religion is the feeling that you have that you are talking to Allah, that you are near to Him, that He's listening to you, that He's watching you. And that soon, as you increase in your ibadat, you will find divine answers. You will find Allah speaking to you through events and incidents happening. Through events and incidents happening, you will find direct answers to what you ask. Okay? Direct answers coming. And you realize Allah speaks to people through a veil. Right? What does Quran say? Quran say, it is not for Allah Azza wa Jalla to speak to anyone except from behind the veil. إِلَّا مِن وَرَاءِ hijab. Right or wrong? The hijab is what? You think that it's going to be actual curtain? No. The hijab is the creation. Allah speaks to us through the creation. Okay? Our dua is answered. Or our questions are confirmed through the creation. That's the hijab. متى طلبت عوضا عن عمل طولبت بوجود الصدق فيه ويكفي المريب وجدان السلام. Subhanallah. When you seek recompense for a deed, the existence of sincerity in it is demanded of you in return. As for the insincere, the feeling of security from chastisement suffices for you. Okay? If the intention underlying worship and other virtuous deeds is solely the acquisition of compensation, then Allah will show him that only a deed accomplished by sincerity is worthy of reward. If sincerity truly existed in one would not have rendered the deed in expectation of compensation. For such a person, it will suffice that he is not punished by Allah And darajat can be mixed, levels can be mixed. The highest degree of ikhlas is that you worship Allah because it is an honor to you to be worshipped, to be a worshiper. I'm being honored here. That is the highest degree of sincerity. That you enter into an act of worship almost making hasad on yourself. Because you feel you are the one being honored here. Okay? How much of a far cry is that from the actual feelings people have when they get up from prayer? The actual feeling of burden. The actual feeling of difficulty. The actual feeling of, let me just get this off my back. Okay? Alright? They even have phrases of it. They used to say, we need to slam out Maghrib, right? Okay? And knock out Isha. Okay? The feeling of you are being honored in this mawqif, in this maqam, is not even there. You're the one being honored. Okay? And the sinner, shaitan makes you feel you're a bad boy, right? You have no limits. Like you're a rebel, okay? That you're praising yourself, and you don't realize in the heavens you are as if someone in this life has najasa on him walking in the streets. How do you view someone who has najasa on his clothes? How does he smell? How do people view him? In the heavens, when his deed comes up with his name on it, that's what he's like. Okay? Reeking. Alright? He should be shaved. Unfortunately, the sinner, what does he walk around? With a puffed chest, like I'm a bad boy. I break all laws. Right? That's how he walks around. He doesn't realize he should be embarrassed. He's an embarrassment. When he comes and his deeds are going up in heaven, it's an embarrassment. Okay? He's a cause of embarrassment for his grandparents who had died, and his father who has died, and his mother who has died. He's a cause of embarrassment for them in the heavens. So, what he's saying here, when you ask for something in return, okay, of a deed, you have made a total miscalculation. Now, what is he saying here? Don't ask? No. He's saying ask. But don't imagine a trade-off. Don't try to imagine a trade-off. You have overvalued your deed. Way overvalued your deed. And imagine that it's worth something. Right? But a person who needs something, what he should do is he should do this deed, do this trade-off. But he should do this trade-off and say, oh Allah, this deed is for you. And now I ask from you this. Okay? Just like, imagine yourself going into the presence of a very rich person, okay, who's going to give you a big grant or something, or a job, and you're bringing him a cake or a Parker pen or something with his name engraved on it. If you come in and act as if this is a trade, you have insulted him. But if you act as this is a gift for you, now I need something from you, it's accepted. But if you act as if this is a business deal, here, this is your side, now I want my side, you're out of there. Because what are you giving him? What can you possibly give him? Nothing. Right? This is why the gifts to presidents and to big CEOs who can give you jobs, it's all symbolic. This is symbolic, right? Expression. Okay? Likewise. So we do the deed for Allah Azza wa Jal and ask him, and can view them as separate transactions. Don't imagine it as a trade-off. Okay? Now, whenever you seek something from Allah Azza wa Jal, your sincerity is going to be tested. And he takes this from the Quran. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do people imagine that they're going to do something for Allah and not be tested? Allah Azza wa Jal, one of his attributes, he loves purity. He loves purity. He loves purity in all things. The carpet you pray on has to be pure. The clothes you pray in has to be pure. Your skin may not have najasa on it. Your clothes may not have najasa on it. Okay? Your mouth is recommended to wash it before salah. Don't go to salah with a bad smelling mouth. This is makruh. But more importantly, your heart cannot have an associate. Okay? In your act of worship. Now, does this mean you can't love other than Allah? Of course not. Of course not. You can love, a heart can hold many things. A heart can hold many things. And it also can hold bad things. As long as you don't act upon them. Because Allah Azza wa Jalla says, you may love a thing and it's bad for you. You may love a thing and it's bad for you. Okay? So Allah recognizes you may love Allah and you may love something really bad too. But what does that ayah actually indicate to us? That means that heart is accepted as long as he doesn't act upon the bad thing. But it also indicates you may love Allah and many mundane things too. I mean, people love computers, people love technology, people love cars. All this is valid and accepted so long as it doesn't cause them to do a bad deed. However, when it comes to acts of ibadah, you may never use Allah Azza wa Jalla's worship for dunya, for anything other than Him. Okay? This is what is rejected. Okay? This is what is rejected. Now, the one who has a sickness in his intention, the one who has a sickness in his intention, that he acts and his intention is never tested, that he acts for multiple causes, okay? Many people do this, right? Some people become involved in a masjid, so they have to show everyone that they pray all the sunnahs, right? But then you see him. If he's in another masjid where the community doesn't see him, he's barely dipping out 2 rak'ahs and he's gone, right? So where's the ikhlas there? If you're truly praying for Allah Azza wa Jalla, it doesn't matter if you're in the community, if you're in your house, if you're in another masjid, you're going to do it, right? So this, what does he say here? If your sincerity is shaky, it's enough that you're not being punished for it, right? It's enough that you're not being punished for it. Okay. Someone with a weak intention, it's sufficient that he's not being punished. لا تطلب عوضا عن عمل لست له فاعلا يكفي من الجزاء لك على العمل أن كان له قابلا. Do not seek recompense for a deed whose doer was not you. It suffices you as recompense for the deed that He accepts you. Right? It should be understood that Allah is the true doer of all actions. Therefore, in worship, the servant's gaze should be on Allah Most High. This is very powerful. When you do a deed, if you imagine yourself doing it, that I'm the one doing this, it opens you up to arrogance and conceit. But if you constantly remind yourself, Allah is facilitating this, I'm not really doing it, Allah is facilitating it, then it closes the door to arrogance. And arrogance from religious people is the worst arrogance. Who was the first person from Hadith Qudsi? We know. Who was the first person to go to hell? Islamic scholars. Good scholars. Scholars that we may be reading from and learning from. How are they going to hell? They viewed their action as their own action. Therefore, they increased in arrogance. Honestly, if you're the one who did it, you deserve praise, right? But Tasawwuf teaches us to protect ourselves from arrogance by reminding ourselves, even while doing the deed, I'm not the doer of this deed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I created you and what you do. Therefore, this action of mine is the creation of Allah. I should just be honored that He gave me this act to do. Much less if I'm not even the doer of the act, right? Like, you accept a reward for an act that you didn't do. Someone thinks you did it. Okay? Many people enter into Islam, right? Someone you know entered into Islam, maybe despite you, maybe not from you, and you expect a reward from that? Right? No. Since the servant is not the creator of his good deeds, it is highly improper for him to desire compensation, as though it is his right. Notice here, we're not saying we don't want compensation. The clause is, as if it is his right. Again, treating Allah like an equal. Here, I give you this, you give me this. No. Take these as two separate transactions. Oh Allah, you gave me this wonderful tawfiq to do I now ask you for this. Okay? And I'm telling you, the one who truly understands Allah, he doesn't need any of this. Right? We said in the first or second or third class, we said, when you ask, the greatest wasila is Allah Himself. To say, if Allah asks you, why should I give you anything? Don't start thinking, I did this, this, and this. No. The answer is very simple. Because you're Allah. Because you're the generous. Right? You're the generous. Because you're the forgiving. Okay, why should I give you if you did this? If you did sin X? Because you're the forgiver. Who else will I turn to? The key with Allah Azza wa Jalla is that you don't turn to anyone else. And then He accepts. Right? That you don't. And sometimes, some people ask, why isn't my prayer accepted? Right? This is a test. Allah is seeing if you're going to turn to someone else. Allah is seeing if you're going to start turning to someone else. And this happens all the time. You're afraid you're going to get in trouble. Oh Allah, protect me. Well, the signs of protection aren't coming. Now He starts to turn to creation. Right? He starts turning to the creation as if the creation is a God that can protect him. Allah tests us. He doesn't give us what we need at the time to see. Are you going to leave or not? Okay? Are you going to leave the door or not? We have the example of one of the mashayikh of the past. Back in the day, in the time of Imam al-Ghazali, Imam Abdul Qadir al-Jailani, and Sheikh Ahmed al-Rifa'i, Abu al-Hasan al-Shabani, a time of these mashayikh, the khair, the good, was so much in the ummah that al-Jilani said the mashayikh, in order to actually worship Allah, had to flee to the desert, okay, or the mountains, because there are too many students hoarding them, right, or surrounding them. And they said they felt no guilt in doing so because of how many sheikhs there were, right? Because of how many sheikhs there were to teach the people. So the absence of 1 or 2 or 10 is not going to affect the community. That's how good the era was. When you see that the mashayikh is living on a mountain, he's living on the mountain for a reason. There are so many sheikhs that he feels that his absence is not going to harm the ummah, right? And he needs free time to worship Allah. So Abdul Qadir Jilani said that. Okay, the mashayikh used to leave in his time. There were so many sheikhs and so many students. In order for the sheikh to have any time for himself, he had to leave, to flee. Now, one of the mashayikh, he took on a practice that if a student comes to seek knowledge, he doesn't have time for students coming for popularity or something. He wants the real student. Okay? So what would he do? Repel him. Send him away. Teacher asking for knowledge? No. He's asking to be your student? No. Let me sit in your halaqah? No. Let me come to your majlis? No. For a year or 2. And if he still keeps coming, he's proven his sincerity, then he can come. Right? SubhanAllah. That was how good the era was. That, I mean, just to study with a certain shaykh is a feather in your cap in the society. So the mashayikh, they know this. So they need to make it a little hard on you. They want only sincere students. So they repel students. Right? So much so that some of them would sleep at the door of a shaykh. Okay? The shaykh would have to get a security guard to remove him. That's how much people wanted knowledge back in the day. Right? Alright, we're going to stop here and take a break now. Any quick questions that we can entertain real quick? Yep. So, yeah.
If somebody makes a legitimate desire and says that I will fast or pray in a vacuum, so is that the prayer?
He does all this knowing this is a token symbolism of gratitude. What he's saying here, we do not treat Allah as equal business partners because what we're giving is nothing. So when we go for efforts and say, oh Allah, I will put this effort, right? Recognize that Allah is not in need of your effort and that it's never going to be equal. That is the correct way to do it.
So people can do that?
Of course, they're recommended to do that. Yeah.
So just the other day, I read Sunnis that were saying that sadaqah is what way,
Yes.
So if you follow something like that, if you're doing the sadaqah, because there is almost like a benefit that's
Yes.
right? So where does that fall?
You never take on the attitude of fadl, as if you are owed. You never take on the attitude of arrogance, that as if, how would you talk to a tenant? You say to the tenant, pay up, right? You never take that attitude with Allah. And always know that even in the absence of your action, Allah's generosity is enough, right? Even in the absence, I'm unable to do it, Allah's generosity is enough, like that. So again, all of these are good things, but they become bad if the true understanding of Allah is not there. If it's there, then all these are fine. All these are fine. All right, Salatul Asr, and then our snack. Let's go by the page. He says, أنت إلى علمه إذا أطعته أحوج منك إلى علمه إذا عصيت. You are more in need of his forbearance when you obey him than when you disobey him. When people do a sin or a wrong, they feel that they need Allah's forgiveness, they need him to have sabr on them, but they don't have these feelings when they do good, when they do ta'ah, acts of obedience. Really, in reality, it's the opposite. You need it even more. And he's going to explain. The excellence and loftiness of the servant are in his awareness that the actual goal of all worship is only Allah Most High. Thus, at all times and in all acts, his gaze must remain focused on Allah Most High, as a beggar might solicit food from his benefactor. His actions, deeds, and even his existence are completely out of his sight when in this excellent spiritual state. His reliance is only on Allah Most High. The heart derives solace from only him, and the direction of his heart is only focused on him. There remains absolutely no trust in one's effort and plans. All right, so he goes on now, but I'll summarize what he's saying. When you commit a wrong action, you know you are down and that you are in need. When you commit a good action, you are very easy to pretend vulnerable, to slip up into spiritual arrogance. And spiritual arrogance is a far worse state than the state of someone who does a physical sin. Okay? So for this reason, he said, you did a sin. Okay? You need Allah's help. But the sin is outward. You know it. There's no denying it. There's nothing to be proud of. Right? So yes, you've soiled yourself, but your situation is clear. Your situation is clear. In contrast, okay? In contrast, you do a good deed, you are at a great risk of walking away haughtily with arrogance. You are very vulnerable to this attack. Okay? You're very vulnerable to this attack. And this is why Ibn Abbas says, the one who does good is in more need of Allah's forgiveness and protection. Because he is his slip up now is deadly. Right? If you're a sinner, how are you going to slip up? You already slipped up. You're down. You know you're down. And no one needs to tell you you're down. So your state is no good, but it's clear. Okay? But the one who does good is as if someone elevates on a mountain. As the higher he goes, the greater his risk. The more he has to be careful of his step. And this is why, okay, Surah An-Nasr talks about victory. What does a Muslim do when he has victory? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. Why is it that Allah tells us when we have victory, the victory and the opening of Allah comes? إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. Now, what is the greatest victory possible? Allah tells us the greatest victory possible. People are entering into Islam. This is the greatest victory. The greatest victory is not to to have the most conquest. The greatest victory is not to have the biggest Islamic kingdom. The greatest victory is not to have the biggest mosque in glory. The greatest victory is people are entering into Islam. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. So now, if you have accomplished the greatest victory, then what do? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. When you say Subhanallah, it means everyone has imperfections and Allah has no imperfections. So you are saying Allah is perfect, has no imperfections, and I have imperfections. That's the meaning when we say Subhanallah. Allah, you have no imperfections, I have imperfections. So it's a recognition of this fact. Alhamdulillah, Subhanallah wa bihamdih. Alhamdulillah is to say Allah has every good attribute and no one is complete in their goodness, in their perfection. No one's perfect with attributes. Allah is perfect in His attributes. And you can combine these by saying Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Alright? And then Subhanallah al-Azim, which means of all sizes and all powers, Allah is more a'lam, He is greater. Okay? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. And make istighfar. From what will I make istighfar if my action just led to everyone entering Islam? Make istighfar for ever the thought coming into your head that it's because of you. Make istighfar because now your state went from the state of neediness to the state of arrogance. The state of neediness to the state of thinking I have power. Of thinking I can do something. No. You must فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. Make istighfar. إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. So, when you complete the greatest victory that it is possible for you to complete, Allah tells you at the end, I can forgive you. That's a psychology in a nutshell. You've completed the height of action in dawah. And instead of patting you on the back, Allah says to you, I forgive you. Showing us the great danger of success. Failure is not as dangerous as success. Imam Shafi'i was asked, will the people who go out on dawah find success or failure? He said they will not find success until they first find failure. Because failure is an easier test to pass than success. It is easier to pass the test of persecution than it is to pass the test of power. So Allah Azza wa Jal, what does He say about the Bani Israel? وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً بِمَا صَبَرُوا. We made them imams after we saw that when we persecute them, they have patience. Now you're worthy to be an imam. You are only worthy to be an imam when you have patience upon persecution. Okay? You're only worthy of power, you're only trustworthy. If you had power, you may be oppressive. The ummah of Islam today. Today, our ummah is generally oppressed. Generally, some places we're oppressors. You go to the Khalij, you see many of those workers are oppressed. Okay? But in general, mostly, they're not in political power. This is an error. Because if we're not in political power, and we're still not handling it well, like most of the Arab Middle East, they have these tremors in their history. And every time a tremor comes, they actually go further away from the deen. Further from the deen. It shows they're not capable of handling oppression. If you cannot handle oppression, you cannot handle power. This is the equation. If you want to know, can you handle, are you trustworthy to have the sabr, the patience, and the restraint to handle power? Ask, does he have the restraint to handle oppression? Okay? Does he have the restraint to handle oppression? Because oppression is an easier test spiritually than power. One is at the spectrum of harm, the other as a spectrum of enjoyment. The power is enjoyable. You'd be very happy to tell people what to do, right? But if you were never in a situation where your will was suppressed, that someone was suppressing you and saying, stop doing what you're doing. Sometimes you have that. Sometimes you have someone, as soon as you get happy, all right, they oppress you. They want to stop you from doing what you're doing. They never want to see you happy. If you want them to let you to do something, you have to pretend you hate it, right? Some people are like that, right? But these people, if you have sabr with them and you wait it out with patience, you're never going to enjoy it, but you wait it out with patience, then someday you will be worthy of power yourself. You'll be able to restrain yourself from the temptations of crushing other people with power. The temptation of the oppressed is rage. His temptation is to enter into a state of rage. Okay? This is his temptation. If he can restrain himself from rage, then you can bet assured he has a good chance to restrain himself from the temptation of power, which is crushing people. The temptation of power is to crush others. The one who falls for the temptation of rage, guaranteed, if you give him power, he's going to crush other people. He will crush the little guy. Okay? So for this reason, the one who is doing good in religion, he needs more help, protection from Allah, than the one who's suffering in religion. Okay? The one who's drunk, homeless on the street, he knows he's no good. He's far from falling off the cliff of religious spiritual arrogance. He's far from that. Okay? But the one who has climbed the mountain successfully, it's easy for him to fall into that. So he needs more help. This is one of the reasons why Allah Azza wa Jalla, the Messenger Sallallahu and Allah Azza wa Jalla, Surah An-Nisa, verse 115, constantly pushing us to al-jama'ah. Be with the jama'ah. Here's one of the secret wisdoms behind the concept of being with the jama'ah. If you're one of 10 people, and you're the best of 10 people, it's possible that you can be the best of 10 people, right? It's very possible that you're the best of all 10 people. Add 10 more people. Add 10 more people. Now you have 30 people. Actually, at this point, even if you're the best, it's going to be by a slim margin. And someone could overtake you. Add 70 more people. You're one of 100. At this point, there are 6, 7 great people, right? So it dilutes your perception of yourself. It dilutes it, right? Your perception of yourself. This is why only a fish in a pond can walk around being a bully, right? But put him in a big lake, put him in a river, put him in an ocean, and now he's just one fish out of many fish, right? So the benefit of the jama'ah is that Allah Azza wa Jalla will always provide you with people equal or better than you. And this will help you attain humility. And if you are removed from you is the sweetness of being number one. Being number one has an immensely powerful sweetness to it. But it's a bad and horrible test and a drug. You don't ever want to take that drug. It's like some drugs, you can get off it very quickly. Other drugs are so powerful, as soon as you take one, you're an addict. Right? As soon as you take one, you are so happy by taking that one, that when it wears off, regular life is hell. So you have to take more. Right? Well, being number one, when you're filled with other people who are number one, it causes you to think back, well, what's my purpose? What's the purpose? Is the purpose of being number one? Or is the purpose, though, and once with Allah? That's the real purpose. Though and once with Allah. And where were you ever going to learn this lesson? By being oppressed. If you are oppressed and suppressed and lonely, you sit alone and you're like, no one's there to help you. Life is no good. What is your solace at that moment? Allah. My solace is Allah. This is why the Prophet said, "Taqi da'wat al-madlum, فإن ليس بينها وبين الله حجاب." Fear the da'wah, the dua of the oppressed, because there's no barrier between him and Allah. He's lost hope in people. He's miserable in his life. What's this only solace? To be alone with Allah. Right? Be alone with Allah. Now, this grows in him and grows in him and grows in him. So now when he's actually successful in life, the various temptations of life, Okay, he remembers. That's not the goal. The purpose is to be alone with Allah. And at the very least, if you grow inside of yourself intimacy with Allah, then someone gives you the benefits of the dunya. When you're engaging in benefits of the dunya, you may lose some of your uns. You'll realize it's not as good as I imagined. I want to go back to uns with Allah. Okay? You go back to it. You realize that this is not what it's measured out to be. Actually, when I was all alone, oppressed, in my cell, in my room, I was actually more happy. Right? He doesn't realize it. He thinks, I needed all these outward things to be happy. No, you don't need that, actually. So, the oppressed one, Allah is giving him a crutch and helping him attain uns by removing distractions, removing all distractions, put you alone in a room, you're not thinking of anyone else except Allah. So, it's almost like kindergarten, where He's helped you do everything to attain your goal, right? He's given you the quarter in your hand and held you by the hand and said, give it to the homeless, right? He's held you by the hand and attained you to the level of ma'rifah and uns and mahabbah. Now that you've developed it, now the real test comes. What happens now when you're out in the world? Successful, happy, free, no oppressor anymore, no one to stop you anymore, right? Now, you're going to need to remember that sweetness of back in the day when I was simple and small and oppressed. I need to remember that because it's very easy when there's no oppressor to go astray. And the only thing that will keep me from going astray is remembering the sweetness when I was alone with Allah Azza wa Jalla and I was obedient and good. That is what is going to keep you, all right, when you have all the power to do whatever you want in the world. Okay? And this is why Imam Ibn Attar is going to say another hikmah, which we're going to come to. He says, the seed that sprouts without ever being buried will never come to fruition. It will rot. Okay, it will never produce fruits. The seed must be buried deep in the ground, in the darkness and the cold of the soil, in order for a good tree to sprout and give fruits. Okay? So what is he saying here? He's saying you need to go through that bad experience first at some point in life that doesn't have to be like in jail. Just lonely, I'm a little guy, I'm not a big deal, right? I don't have much, I'm in debt, right? In those moments, Allah's protecting you so that you can develop with Him. Then later on you grow. You start having raises, you start having better jobs. Now you're free, you're out like a bird soaring through the wind, right? You can go astray. So what protects you to go astray? The memory. Right? That's what keeps you. Okay? Then, when a trial comes in front of you, that trial helps you. That trial puts you back in that state where it's only me and Allah. So you are not trial averse. You're not trial averse. You're not averse of problems. You're not averse to conflict. You're not afraid. Because any hardship that comes to you is easy. I'll be back with Allah. I have no problem. Like one of the great imams said, jail is not a problem. He's speaking the truth. He said, what's going to happen? This imam was actually lucky he had no wife and no kids. He said, how can these people stop me from speaking the truth? If they put me in jail, I'm alone with Allah. Okay? If they kill me, I'm a martyr. And if they kick me out of the land, I'm a traveler. Right? So how can you stop me? Really, the only thing he misses is torture. Right? A lot of people will stop from saying the truth from torture. But the Prophet ﷺ, how does he remind us that even torture, if you gotta say the truth, you gotta say the truth. What did he say? He said the people from those before you, they used to take a comb, dip it in hot oil until the comb comes out red. Big comb made of metal, like a rake really, I should say like a rake. Imagine like a rake. One of those thick rakes, not the skinny ones, the thick rake, okay? Dip it in hot oil until it comes out glowing. Then stab it into the back of the man, into his skin, then pull down all the skin, exposing the skin, and when he's exposed, he dies. And just let him sit there till he dies. Because oxygen, when it comes in there, he's going to die. Right? Then the other Muslims are sitting there watching. Okay? The other believers of that era are sitting there watching. Then they bring the second one, and they say, are you going to refute your religion and turn back on your religion, or suffer what he suffered? They said, I will not turn back on my religion. Right? And they would take the comb and do the same thing to him. And then the Prophet told us another hadith, because Allah, the Prophet ﷺ wants us even to be hardened to torture, which is the hardest thing. You die, it's easy. You get expelled, it's easy. Right? Be put under house arrest or go into jail, you can manage that. Torture is the hardest. Okay? Now, he says another one. What happens when the ummah is before you? What would they do? They would bring 4 or 5 believers. Then they'd say, who's your God? They would say, Allah. So they would take him and throw a man into a vat of boiling, bubbling oil, such that as soon as he lands in, he feathers out and becomes nothing immediately as soon as he falls in. Okay? Now, the second, are you going to turn back on your religion? And he refuses to say no, to say yes. They throw him in, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. Now, let's take another example. The Prophet ﷺ told us, again, no, the Prophet is telling us this on purpose so we can be hardened even to physical torture. Okay? What does he say now? Now, okay, that's men. What about women? Right? What about women? Women too. What about a woman with a baby? Her too. Hardened. If the truth is at stake, to be hardened to that. Okay? Like what? The boy, the king, the magician, and the monk. Who knows the story? The boy and the magician and the monk. I'll give you the short khulasa of it. A king, the magician of the king was getting old, so he got him to get an apprentice. The boy was going to the magician to learn. On the way, he would see a monk, and he would like to watch him worship, and he sensed calmness with the monk. So he would start attending with the monk, until the boy reached a level of spirituality, but he also learned magic. One day, he saw a lion in the street, and the people were all backed off and afraid. Okay? So he said, or it was a beast. He said, now I'm going to test both the ways of magic and the ways of Allah. So he took a rock, and he said, oh Allah, if you're true, then I will say Bismillah, let the rock kill the beast. So he said Bismillah, and he threw the rock, and it killed the beast. So he knew the path of religion was right, the path of the occult was wrong. Okay? So then he went back and he told the monk, and the monk said, now you have reached a level that I haven't reached yet. I'm a worshiper, but I don't do things like that. I don't have karamas coming off of me like the way you did. So now you're at a higher level. The boy kept advancing and advancing to the point that he would heal the blind and cure the leper. Okay? And cure the deaf and cure all people. Okay? Finally, this reached the elites. And one of the elites was blind from the council of the king. So he went to the boy with a large sacks of wealth. He put it in front of him and said, cure me. The boy said, take your wealth, for I don't cure it, it is Allah who cures. Okay? He says, if you believe in Allah and make dua, as I make dua, you'll be cured. He did. He believed in Allah. Okay? And he was cured. Okay? He went back, and the word started to spread. That even the elite are believing in Allah and no longer believing in their whatever religion it was. Okay? So they bought the king. They bought the boy. And they punished him enough that he told on the monk. The monk came, and they killed him. Then they went to the boy. They finally got the boy. They said to the boy, now we're going to make an example of him. We cannot kill him, or else he'll be a martyr. But what we can do is scare him. So they took him to the top of a mountain to scare him. Right? Throw him off a little and hold him back. Right? But he refused to change. Okay? And in fact, Allah caused an earthquake to fall. His captors fell, and he came back. Then the king said, all right, take him to the ocean, scare him by the ocean. They took him to the ocean, took him on a big ship, about to throw him off the ship. Okay? He refused. Allah caused the waves to move, and the captors fell, and he stayed. He went back to the king. He wouldn't flee, right? Fleeing would destroy the whole purpose. He went back to the king. He said, there's only one way to kill me. He said, how? He said, tie me up to a pole, take the arrow, and out loud in front of everyone say, in the name of the God of the boy. And if you do that, you'll kill me. So he said, good, do it. He did it in front of everyone, in the name of the God of the boy. He flew the arrow, and it killed him. Okay? And then he was happy for an instant, until the people turned around and realized, well, you just proved the boy's God is right. Okay? You just proved that the boy's God is the true God. Okay, now the king went in another rage. So he then took, in the front of all the main highways that people have to use, in front of there's small roads and big avenues, right? Okay, that's what they had back then too. In front of every main road, he dug a ditch and filled it with fire. And the guards would stand. As people are walking to get their needs, he's trying to stop everyone. Whoever rejects belief in Allah gets to go. Whoever refuses gets thrown into the fire. Then what happened next? There came a woman and her baby. A brand new baby. Okay? This is one of the four babies, or three babies who spoke. Four babies who spoke. Okay? She hesitated. She thought to herself, if I lie, then I can escape and raise this baby upon Tawheed. Right? If I lie, I can raise the baby upon belief and do good. The baby spoke. She said, say the truth and don't worry about the fire. So what is the most? We said we move from death, being killed, no big deal. Being tortured, fine. What if you're a woman? What if you're a woman with a baby? A young woman with a baby. Even if the truth comes to that, okay? The Prophet, peace be upon him, that is preferable than to lie. Okay? So we are, Allah Azza wa Jalla, read closely the hadith, and you will see that the Prophet wants us to be strong and hard when it comes to falsehood. Not fearing of popularity, not fearing of blame. And she jumps into the fire with her baby. Okay? She jumped in the fire with her baby. And we have all of Ashab al-Ukhdud in Surah al-Buruj. Many people from the Jews and Christians before us, they were given ultimatum. Leave your religion or be thrown into a pit of fire. Yep. No. Which one is that?
The kissing of the hand of the king.
I can't remember. Okay. So you see, this issue of sidq, okay, azima, strength, being hardy, is very important. And here's another thing, reputation. Many people will turn away from the truth. Why? Out of fear of being called such and such and such and such. Right? You do a big disservice to the truth. If you don't want your reputation to be martyred, then how will your body be martyred? Right? Your reputation is something you don't see. It doesn't exist except in the perception of the human beings whose minds will always change. Human beings' minds always change. Okay? You're a villain today, you're a hero tomorrow. And vice versa. So this is the least thing that you should enjoy. You should never enjoy reputation. Right? It's going to go. This is why the Sahaba used to say, if anyone comes to you and starts increasing your reputation, throw sand in his face. Stop him. Don't let him tempt you with this drug of reputation. So success, reputation, all of these are drugs that need to be slaughtered. Avoid these drugs because they're going to affect you. So the one who succeeds, he's in trouble. More than the one who fails. He needs help. He needs more help. Tell me, who needs help? A guy who slipped off the first floor or a guy who's hanging from the 100th floor? You slip off the first floor, you may sprain your ankle, maximum, right? You're in a bad situation. But the guy who is standing, he hasn't fallen yet, but he's standing on the ledge of the 100th floor. No, I'll rather break my ankle, right? It's a guaranteed loss with no increase than be standing on the ledge of the 100th floor with the possibility of falling, right? So this is why, indeed, the Prophet ﷺ said, go slow indeed, slow and steady, right? like slow and steady. You rise too fast, you can fall too fast. Right? And this is why in success, forget in deen, success, worldly success, Allah Azza wa Jalla will put obstacles in front of you. Let those obstacles slow you down if Allah has commanded them. I want to be successful, all of a sudden, my mother-in-law has cancer. What am I going to do? Am I still going to travel every weekend to earn more money? Or am I going to have to now cut it down? I have to cut it down, right? But this cutting it down, as one of the poets said, maybe this is Ainul Allah. Maybe this is what you need to secure yourself, your mentality, from going overboard. Slow. Sometimes going slower is far better than going fast. Right? So all of this is based upon his hikmah, or his statement that sometimes, okay, the success in religion is actually more dangerous than failure. ربما دخل الرياء عليك من حيث لا ينظر الخلق إليك. Sometimes ostentation penetrates you in such a way that no one notices. The tariq of tasawwuf is all about guarding yourself from ostentation. Guarding yourself from ostentation.
Just wanted to let you know babysitting's over, so the kids might be coming in and out.
Babysitting's over?
Well, the babysitter is what?
The babysitter, you have to leave?
I'm not sure what time she was supposed to stay in, but I think she had to leave today early, so just wanted to warn you there are going to be kids around.
Ostentation is to render an act of worship or some other virtuous deed with the motive of creating an impression inside of others. An impression of what? An impression to praise you. Okay? An impression to elevate you. Not every impression is bad, right? Not every impression is bad. Like what? Sometimes you will do a good deed. Now we will tell you what is not showing off. Sometimes you'll do a good deed because everyone's doing it and it's embarrassing not to do it. Like what? You're at a house and there are 7 people. Everyone prays Maghrib. You customarily don't pray the Sunnah of Maghrib. But everyone's praying the Sunnah of Maghrib. So you get up and pray the Sunnah of Maghrib. Are you showing off? We say no. At this point, this is a good virtue. This is someone who's embarrassed. If you say, you know what, I'm not praying. You're shameless, right? You're shameless. So they shamed you into doing a good deed, it's accepted. To be shamed into doing a good deed is accepted. Likewise, to be shamed into not doing a bad deed is acceptable. Okay? This is the benefit of family and society. Today, people have psychosis because they're allowed to be alone too much. So they do things they would have never done before. Then they feel like they have a double life. Back in the day, if you think about it, to be alone was actually very hard, right? Back in the day, in order to slaughter an animal, you had to have 5 people. In order to skin it, you needed help. In order to light a fire, you needed help. Everything needed help. Everyone was helping everyone, right? In order to disappear, you had to take effort. So you didn't have a lot of problems in that respect. But in the respect of today, it's very easy to be alone. And when you're alone, it's easy to do things that you wouldn't regularly do in front of people. Even regular behaviors, like some people behave in ways, they do things with their body they would never do in front of people. They are shameless. It creates a psychosis. But we say the benefit of company, if you are shamed, that means if Allah's view didn't shame you, at least let the people's view shame you, right? لم تستحي من الله تستحي من الخلق, right? You're not ashamed of Allah, be ashamed in front of people. At least, right? The worst, how do you know the society is destroyed? No one's ashamed in front of people. They're not even ashamed in front of people, right? And shock jocks and a lot of these shock types of, I guess, comedians, or I don't know what they are, social reformers, they like to find out what is taboo and they want to go into it and shock the society and write op-eds in the Huffington Post why we should accept this. Right? And we're all doing it anyway, and this is all hypocrisy. No, we say, if it's a bad thing, if you're ashamed to do it because of people that's a virtue, right? It's not bad, it's not hypocrisy. Hypocrisy, again, is to worship Allah so that people can look at you. That's hypocrisy. That's showing off. Riya, ostentation, is also known as the smaller shirk. And it's also a stripe of hypocrisy. So, he now says it's to do an act of worship in order that they consider him pious and saintly. Now, here's one of the greatest pills of medicine you'll ever get. Someone says, how do I protect myself from from fearing for this reputation? Like, I'm doing a lot of things. How do I make myself that people don't view me like that, or I don't think about that? The answer is very simple. Continue being yourself. Just be yourself, right? Be yourself. Everyone has enough awkwardness in them that people won't think that you're biased or saintly or anything. Okay? In fact, you probably have the other. They'll think you're on the other side, right? Of things. Be yourself. This is one of the people, alhamdulillah, that gave me great advice in England. They said one of the worst things to see is a regular kid, goofy kid, happy-go-lucky kid. He starts coming into the deen. All of a sudden, he's not happy-go-lucky anymore. He's not making jokes anymore. He's not being himself anymore. What's he being? Right? Riya has entered in him, so he's creating an image for himself. That I'm so serious. All I do is talk about the deen. I don't know anything about anything in culture. Even if he laughs at a joke, he stops himself because he catches himself. Right? No, you have to be destroyed. This has to be destroyed. Right? So the solution is just be yourself. Continue being yourself. Okay? Continue being seen where you always are. Like if you're, what are you going to do? You're not going to stop shopping. You're not going to stop stopping for gas. You're not going to stop driving. Be yourself. Don't try to be a saintly person that is not seen doing all these things. This is a sign of Riya. Right? That you don't want to be seen doing mundane things like everyone else. You don't want to be seen enjoying chicken wings with the brothers. Right? No. You don't want to be seen unwinding. This is all from Riya. And the people will not benefit from it. Right? And it's showing off. Right? Who are you not to be seen doing these things? All of this is Riya. So much so that the students of knowledge in the past, when the era was good, when times were good, some of the mashayikh used to disallow their close disciples from wearing the clothes of students or having long beards. Right? They used to disallow. How? When it's a sunnah. Yes, but if it's causing them, and if it's actually causing him to view himself better than he actually is, then it's a problem. Right? Then it's a problem. Okay? Others used to force their students to do mundane things. Like go get shopping from the market, right? So he's a student of knowledge. He's sitting with the sheikh all day. Now the sheikh asks him to go get cucumbers from the market. So he's going to have to go and haggle and look for the cucumbers and walk around with a basket of cucumbers. So the sheikh is putting his ego in his place. Don't forget who you are, okay? And some people have an easier time with this than others. And the thing is, if someone can call you out on these things at the age of 8, it's not going to be a problem at the age of 18, much less the age of 58. Some people, they know what their murabbis, whoever they were, who was upbringing, raising them, didn't really call it out, this showing off at a young age. So when he grew big, older, it became a bigger and bigger snake until it can't be killed anymore. And the person dies upon ad-da' wal-'ilad, what the mashayikh call ad-da' wal-'ilad, the hardest sickness, that even the mashayikh cannot cure it. Okay? Which is changing your view of yourself. Your view of your own self. Okay? And this is why you'll see that the mendicant, the wandering culture of the wandering mendicant, what is that? This culture developed in the Islamic countries, as a way to combat riyah. So what would they do? Okay, you're a student, and now you're doing good. Now people are looking at you. Now people are citing you as an example. So how does the shaykh cure you of your sickness, or just prevent you from falling into it? He gives them a frock, just a frock of wool, and a bowl. And he sends him out, okay? He sends him out to be a homeless beggar for a week or 2 or 40 days, right? So he may go to the neighboring city and he starts to learn, what is life like when no one looks at me, right? What is life like when people throw me a coin or an apple? So he has balance now, right? So it should remove his riyah. One of the worst problems we have is the culture of entitlement. That it's we don't want to ask our kids to do menial tasks so that it doesn't hurt his self-esteem. Well, we don't have to disrespect them. We don't have to look down on them and feel that they're disrespected. But it should never be a shame to do menial tasks. Proof is the Prophet ﷺ himself, كَانَ فِي مِهْنَةِ أَهْلِهِ. He was in the lowest chore of his family. What is the sunnah of a man in his house? To be doing the lowest chores, cleaning the pots, and mending shoes, and doing all these things. There was a sheikh who, he was a big sheikh in Walid, the sheikh of Tariqa. And his wife never left the house. That was back in the day. It was often done. Well, wife doesn't go to the market. She doesn't go out to her friend's house. She doesn't go to the masjid. She stays in her house. And back in the day, the homes were connected, so it was her and her other female relatives. The sheikh, though, in following the sunnah, would take off his turban, take off his cloak, and put on his regular clothes and serve. Brooming, cooking, cleaning, helping, doing all these things. So much so that the wife actually never realized her husband is a big sheikh, right? She doesn't talk, there's no YouTube, there's no papers, there's no Facebook. So it's very possible, she doesn't even know he's a big sheikh, right? She knows he goes out and he does something and comes back, okay? So she yells at him, and when he's following the sunnah, he doesn't argue back to his wife. He doesn't ask her to do anything, because Sharia doesn't require that, okay? He works hard, cleaning the house and all. So she's growing now to disrespect him, okay? And she said it came as a habit that she's yelling at him, even. She's yelling at him. She has no respect for the man, okay? And he came to realize, this whole thing, maybe I've done it wrong, right? Maybe I'm too humble in the house or something, right? He never raises his voice. He doesn't like the Prophet, peace be upon him, but his wife is not like Aisha and Khadija, right? So he's now in a problem. So one day he said, this is getting too far. So he said, sit down, I need to talk to you. She said, okay, what is it? He said, do you know that I'm a big sheikh? Okay? And she said, okay, tell me something, right? He gave her a dars in usul al-fiqh, okay? She said, well, why, you could be making all this up. How do I know this? So he said, I'm also a big wali, okay? And he said, okay, sure. So he started, shut his eyes, he started making some dhikr, and he started floating in the air. Then he opened his eyes, and he said, what do you think of this? She said, you're crooked. You're crooked. You're not even floating properly, okay? He said, alas, this is my lot in life, and I'll move on to life. So, you do such acts, balancing the image of piety, okay? Image of piety. Now let's see what else the Shaykh says. Sometimes a person renders an act of worship in private. This is how sneaky the nafs is. Yet notwithstanding this privacy, ostentation still enters his heart. Who is he showing off of? He's confirming his piety to himself. Another form of showing off, right? So, you reach the point that I don't care what people think, I only care what I think of myself, right? This is also a form of piety. It is better off that your own image of yourself is modest, right? Now, notice, excessive blame of self is yet another version of narcissism. A man came to Sidi Hamza, Sidi Sheikh Ibn al-Habib, Muhammad ibn al-Habib, whose qasidas we recite on Fridays. She came to Sheikh Muhammad ibn al-Habib, and this man, he was very proud of himself. He was like a minister. And Sheikh Muhammad asked him about himself. He said, I do such and such, I do such and such, I do such and such, I do such and such. So Sheikh Muhammad ibn Habib began to notice this in him. And he started to give lectures about putting yourself down. Don't think so highly of yourself, put yourself down, right? So now the man took that to heart. So what did he do now? He would come to Sheikh Muhammad ibn Habib and he said, Wallahi, I don't do this, I'm this, I'm that. Negative now, right? Sheikh Muhammad Habib realized he just went from one extreme to another extreme. But it's a step in the gradation. The narcissist does not go from loving himself to being normal. The narcissist goes from loving attention to himself to loving notoriety for himself to then being normal, right? So he went from praise of self to blame of self. Now he can go to thinking of someone else, ignoring self, right? So Sheikh Muhammad Habib says, don't say you're good, don't say you're bad, just say Allah. Okay? In other words, you are still not there yet. You're better, but you're not there yet. You need now to not be a narcissist. You need now to think of other than yourself. A narcissist, anecdotally, his situation is such that in any situation, he only thinks of his perspective and his feelings in that situation. He doesn't think of feelings of others. That's generally what we call a narcissist. So, people who have narcissism in them, they tend to fall for riyah a lot more, right? We have to learn and teach others to think of others. And the whole culture of pity, right? The whole culture of pity and self-help and I'm this and I'm that, I'm this and I'm that, it can be easily fixed by putting people in the service industry, okay? Putting people in the service industry. Amongst the jobs that render people the most polite and the most patient, does anyone have a guess what job actually improves your character in many ways the most?
Janitor?
Janitor, servant, no.
Facilities.
No.
Saloon.
McDonald's, no. Well, I guess this is all opinion, right? But according to this report or study, everything's a study these days. And who's doing the study? A human being just like me and you, right? So why should we? It's just a real estate agent. Real estate agent. Because he must be very patient. He is getting rejected many times. His hope and his patience have to rise. He has to have a lot of patience. He has to have a lot of hope. But ultimately, what else? He must be clean. Because he has clients, right? He has got to be very clean. And not only that, he must be very nice. He must be very nice, right? A real estate agent. So they say the real estate agent is one of the hardest, worst jobs, but it ends up producing the best people. And guess what? It ends up being the worst. The worst. It has the worst impact on your akhlaq. What job?
CEO.
Corporate law, CEO, no.
President.
No. No.
Banking?
You won't believe this. Scholars. Professors and scholars. Because every day of their life they're telling other people. They're asked, right? Okay? They're tearing down their opponents with it gets to their head. It gets to their head, right? So the scholar at the end of his life, and they were talking about professors of PhDs, right? Professors and specifically philosophers. That the most miserable, worst charactered people at the end of doing his profession for like 40 years is the philosopher. Right? And then they said, after that, like the physicist and biologist, right? And then the best is the real estate agent, who he needs to win you over. He coax you. He needs to be patient. He needs to be hopeful, right? All this has an excellent result after doing this for 40 years, all right? So you think these businessmen are bad, they're horrible. No, they need to, because it has to be a deal, right? So he needs to coax you into it. The scholars, the word said, hopefully in Islamic scholarship, right? What is the difference between, remember earlier we talked about the difference between academics and traditional scholarship, very different. When it comes to Islam, it's most important, right? In other subjects, it doesn't matter, but in Islam. Islamic scholarship and academic scholarship is very different. In what way? Number one, academic scholarship is between academics. But Islamic scholarship is public service. It's public service. You are obligated to go out and teach people. So you gotta mingle with people. You gotta mix, right? You gotta mingle and mix with people, right? And likewise, you have to act upon it. You gotta act upon it. You gotta get married and have kids. When you get married and have kids, you can't go and be a scholar and then come back and be a jerk, right? She'll be the first one to call you out and embarrass you and then tell everyone, right? So now you're in trouble. Now you gotta be good. You gotta be nice now, right? Because your whole operation could be undermined. Even if you do it, you're faking it. It's not for Allah Azza wa Jalla. But eventually it will have a good effect. It'll become a habit. You forgot the original reason you were being like that. And it just became a habit. Okay. Now, he said, such people can still try to show off in front of themselves. The sign of this type of ostentation is a man's desire to be honored when he meets others. Okay? So when someone walks into the room and expects that everyone be silent when he enters, that expects that everyone turn and greet him when he enters, that expects that people move in the majlis to make him space. All of this is sign of riyah. Okay? Likewise, the opposite. The opposite. The fear, okay, of going into a room and insisting to be at the back, insisting, right, and avoiding such places is also a problem. Like you're not going because you can't handle it if they don't treat you like that, right? This is riyah. Or that you have to be viewed as being either you're a champion or a victim. You can't just be one of the guys, right? You're either a champion or you're a victim. You can't be in the middle. This is also a type of problem. Okay? When he becomes honored, he becomes very happy. When he becomes a little bit Sha'arawi, one time, a man was talking to him. And he's a radio host. And he said, today we have Fadilat al-Shaykh, Imam al-Dua, okay, Mufti Diyar, all of these accolades. And Shaykh said, look, take all this bukur, right, and put it on the side for now, right? All this sweet stuff, just put it on the side. Let's get on with the program, okay? Get on with the radio show. So you push that stuff aside. When such honor is not forthcoming from people, he is stung with surprise, offended. This attitude indicates that the person's efforts indeed are not motivated for Allah. They are motivated by the desire to gain fame and to gain service from people. Okay? So this is just... and this could be for religious matters and non-religious matters. But if it's for non-religious matters, it's considered a negative, but it's not riyah. It's not bad, but it's not riyah. Like someone is a top whatever profession, in his profession. He wins the Nobel Prize. Then he walks in and he expects everyone to stop talking and greet him. Because I won the Nobel Prize. What do we say about him? We say he has not fallen for showing off. This is not riyah, but it's just bad manners. It's not good character, right? It's bad character. But remember, riyah is that you worship Allah. Take an act of worship so that it can be a praise for you and a feather in your cap and people can praise you. Okay. All right, so let's stop here. Class is over. And inshallah, we will get back at it next week. Bismillah, regular schedule. Any quick questions before we wrap up?
Solid. This saying that you guys, Ibn Qayyim,
Say what?
Ibn Qayyim, he said that the tear of the sinner to Allah is greater than the modesty of the arrogant scholar.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone heard that? He said, Ibn Qayyim said, the tear of the sinner is more valuable, more weighty in the sight of Allah than the tasbih of the scholar, or of the righteous.
ذكر وعودة